meeting of Wednesday, April 1st. It's 2026. We're in the Nauset Meeting Room of Town Hall. It's 4:30 p.m. I'll call us to order and just remind folks on the top of the agenda is the Zoom information if you'd like to join us virtually, as well as a dial-in and webinar ID to use. So I'll call us to order. Around the table of board members, I'll go this way: Matt Runyon, myself, Kevin Galligan, Michael Herman. Andrew Shaw-Reed is celebrating Passover. Wish you the best, and I know Mark Matheson will be here shortly. With us are Town Manager Kim Newman, Assistant Town Manager Mark Reel. Molly Bates just exited the room, so she'll be coming back next, and Laura St. John Dupuy is here. Welcome, everyone. Looking forward to a great meeting. I've called us to order. Michael, would you like to read the preamble?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We acknowledge with respect that we are inhabiting the traditional lands of the Wampanoag peoples who have always existed here. We value their roles as past, present, and future guardians of this land.
Thank you. I've got a couple of announcements, but I'll defer to any other board members or staff for announcements. Okay, so I've just got a couple too. They're roadway related. I see Rich is in the audience, so he probably has heard this, but Kim shared it with me. And I did actually follow up with the resident engineer from MassDOT out of District 5. Starting next Monday, and again, this is all weather and crew dependent, there'll be a limited stretch of South Orleans Road, basically Route 28, in the very southern portion of our town, kind of down by the landing as you're heading to Harwich and Chatham. So about a 1,300-foot stretch of removal that MassDOT and their contractors are doing to remove passing zones. It's basically removing the dashed lines that are painted and replacing them with solid. There'll be some sign revisions after, but again, that for anyone traveling to Chatham or Harwich on Monday morning, you might see some activity. Also, there's an upcoming public information meeting scheduled in Eastham in April, and then a second one in Orleans on the Eastham, Orleans Rotary Improvement Project. I don't know if it'll happen in my lifetime, but the design is beginning public outreach. They've got some scenarios. They're going to bounce off some things with the public, so that's coming up. So as we get more information, we'll share that with folks. Any other announcements?
I'll wait till future.
Okay. So that's the announcement portion of the meeting. Any public comment? Folks here in the room wish to make public comment? And again, if there are agenda topics to come up and you're here, certainly more than welcome to include you in the dialogue. Anyone online, Peggy, for public comment?
No hands raised.
Hands raised. Okay, we'll close public comment. And looking at the next item, we have Tom DeServo up for the Eldridge Park renovation project update.
Yes.
Hey, Tom.
Good evening.
Good evening as well.
Tracy and Jamie, I don't know if you both want to. Yeah. And then I believe we have Reagan from Weston and Sampson online as well.
Great.
All right, so we got this presentation. So first and foremost, thank you to the select board. I know typically you get your agenda packets and everything a little bit earlier, but we were working on this up until Tuesday afternoon, so thank you for your patience and understanding.
All good.
And then secondly, really quickly, I know you have a full agenda. Michael, you asked last week to the Nauset Regional School Committee about school lunches, and then you asked about the summer. Food for Kids offers that through one of the local churches. We actually provide a grant to them, but they provide lunch and snack for all of our students during our summer programs.
During summer break?
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
So I just wanted to make
At the
note of
middle
that.
school or at the
At the middle
elementary?
school and at the elementary school.
Both?
Yeah, all of them. So last year we had 148 in K through 5 and then 48 in the middle school age group. So they provided all lunches and snacks for that every day. Yeah.
That's really great to know. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, Reagan, do you want to start off and I'll just go through the slides and chime in as
Yeah,
needed?
sure. Yeah, I mean, if you want to do introductions to start. your
Yeah.
team.
So very quickly, this is just our little timeline of everything, our meeting agenda. And then these were the people involved. Myself, Jamie and Tracy from the Rec Advisory Committee, numerous people from Weston and Sampson, but Reagan's really taken charge in this project, and then 2 individuals from EDR. And then this is our timeline. This is everything post fall town meeting where we received the $3 million from CPC. So we had a kickoff meeting on March 17th. We discussed many different ideas, but what it boiled down to is the original project was $5.4 million, 5.4 and change. With everything that we have right now, we are at 3.8. So we had to make some cuts and decide on adults to be able to get us down to that 3.6 number. And the timeline is as follows. On April 1st, we just want to be able to present to the select board to be totally transparent about what we're looking at. Then we're hopeful that at the rec advisory committee meeting, we can have the public come watch, see where we're at, and everyone again can understand how we got to that 3.6 number or lower, and then discuss the adult process. By May, we hopefully will have the 75% of the contract documents ready to go. By June, hopefully June, July, we'll be able to go out to bid, and then August award that contract, and construction hopefully to start September. And that's after the Firebird season. And then this was the original plan. This was everything that would have encompassed that 5.4 million. I know we've seen this already. And that was the number.
Yeah, do you want me to run through this, Tom?
Yeah, please.
Okay. Right, great. So thank you, everyone. Regan Andriola from Weston Sampson, registered landscape architect and senior project manager. I know I've been before you last year, so excited to be back here with the updates. Yes, as Tom noted, our full master plan that we issued. You want to go back one slide just so we can look at it real quick. So the plan that we had put together last summer in fall showed the entirety of improvements across Eldridge Park. And we had estimated it was just shy of 5.5 million for the entire project. And obviously we're at a 3.8, 3.6 million budget now, so moving forward. So what we've done was take a look at, actually, yes, you can jump forward now just to see the, in the 2025 opinion of cost was 5.4 million. Let's jump forward. So what we had done was take a look at what we could do to get back down into within budget. And we've listed in 6 different alternates or design changes that we're proposing. We'll walk you through these really quick. The first one looks like the most severe, but it's really makes the most sense of removing, at least during this construction phase, all of the work north of the band shell. It's really kind of an easy dividing point between the north side and the south side. And by removing that piece, it doesn't preclude us from coming back and building that after, and it doesn't impact the rest of the design. So it was really just kind of an easy point to separate that out and make that be a different, its own item that could happen at another time or when funding is available. Alternate number 2 is we had previously proposed 3 different shade shelters, structures across the park. And this is really consolidating them, removing the one that was by the pickleball courts. And instead you'll see in the design updates, utilizing the existing shade trees out there and proposed shade trees to provide the shade that's needed, as well as removing the one that was up at the higher tier between the tennis and basketball courts. And again, utilizing instead some more affordable trees or smaller furnishings that have built-in shade structures instead of a full-size structure, and really consolidate it into one shade structure that's down by the playground, where that's really going to be the most critical and most valuable for parents and caretakers, sitting there with the kids at the park and the playground to be able to sit underneath and get out of the sun. Alternate number 3 was reducing the poured in place rubber safety surfacing. The safety surfacing that you see in playgrounds now, it's very expensive per square foot, and the reduction of this does not by any means reduce the overall design of the playground. It was just being more strategic and efficient with the placement of it. For example, we have a trike track in there. And so a trike track does not need to be surrounded by this surfacing. So instead, we're swapping that out for something, a traditional asphalt or concrete that is far more affordable. And then we can just focus the monies into the play equipment and be strategic in how we lay that out.
And I just want to touch on that really quickly, Reagan. We're
Yeah.
not eliminating the pour and play surface.
No.
We're reducing.
No.
So
Yes,
everything within that
exactly.
playground boundary, it will be the pour and play surface.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. So there's no, we're not sacrificing safety or play value or in any way, but just making sure we're just, again, the plan that we presented last year was, more than a master plan, a little bit more advanced, but this is kind of part of our typical design development process. As we advance the drawings, we get more, we sharpen our pencils and be more creative in how we're fitting these different elements in. And as you can see, that's a big chunk. That's over $200,000 savings just by, being a little bit more careful with our colored areas. Okay, alternate number 4 was removing and or phasing the handball court. We had previously had that between the basketball court and the tennis court. And by what we are proposing is removing that and then having the opportunity to phase that in the future on kind of that southwest side of the tennis courts. And what that also allows us to do is slide the basketball court kind of in a southwest direction, which alleviates some of the grading and retaining wall heights that we had, because we know that's really where the grade drops off, kind of in the northwest corner of that basketball court. So there's a good savings by making that shift. And then it would be really easy to, whether when funds become available, or we add that handball court back in on the other side. And in a way, it makes sense proximate to the tennis court because lots of folks, they use that for warm up, right? If they're waiting to get onto the tennis court for a game. So the placement of it really doesn't impact the overall, again, value and design intent of the park, but it really provides a good savings there. Alternate number 5 was potentially, this is maybe, not everybody's favorite, but reducing the amount of proposed trees by 30%. And again, this is just for a cost savings in this initial phase, but you'd always have the opportunity to add trees back in. And also perhaps use it as one of, an opportunity for fundraising, if people want to pay for a tree that's donated, in somebody's memory or in honor of somebody, there's that opportunity too. And then lastly, this is the biggest chunk, would be phasing all the lighting, site lighting. The idea is that we would put all the conduit in so that that is already there when the site is torn up, we're trenching, we're putting all the conduit in, but then coming back later to add the lighting in, the sports lighting as well as the pedestrian level lighting. So, next slide. So this is just showing what the revised, with these revisions, what the plan looks like. Let's just jump to the next slide because that's zoomed in a little bit more.
Oh.
Oops. Back one. Back one more. There we go. Perfect. Okay. So again, really hard to see the difference, but you can tell that we've, number 1, let's see, we still have the shade structure in the playground area. Number 2 is the poured and play surfacing, so you still have that full huge playground area. We have the 3 would be hardscape play area, so that's trike track, and that's ground level play that doesn't require the safety surfacing. And then we still have our full basketball court, but we've shifted that down southwest a little bit, which again alleviates that slope and the amount of retaining wall that we need between that and the lower playground tier and walkway. We have all of our tennis courts, we have all of our pickleball courts. Number 10 is what we're calling the picnic areas, and you can see the one between the tennis and the basketball court, as well as one down by the pickleball courts. Those we've eliminated the shade structures there, but instead it could be tables with umbrellas, it could be trees strategically placed in there. And then also the northernmost one by the pickleball courts that takes advantage of some of the existing trees to remain there for shade. And then obviously, actually it's number 11, the future location for the handball court. So we have that area designated so we can always build that handball court after. So really not a sacrifice in design. We're really maintaining what we had before with minimal change, other than to the dollars, if you want to jump to the next slide. So you can see here, we've gotten this down to the 3.5 million. So that's fantastic. One other item, Tom, that you might have mentioned on the original timeline, we were showing that we'd be, the town will be pursuing a couple grant opportunities.
Yeah.
Obviously, those aren't guaranteed, but there is an option. We are going to be trying wherever we can. USTA, that's the U.S. Tennis Association, as well as the park grant. So, there is opportunities potentially to find other funding, in which case we could add some of these elements back in. And I think that, next slide. Yes. Okay. So again, just to reiterate, we have kind of we're rating these potential design impacts. So the alternate one, which was removing the whole north side, we're rating that as low, because although it is a big chunk of the design, again, by removing that, it does not impact the rest of the park in any way. And it could always be added in the future. The shade structures, again, we've called that a low impact because we can provide shade to users of the park in these locations through other methods. Again, trees, umbrellas, things like that. The poured in place surfacing, we explain that is a low. It really does not change the play value at all or the footprint of the playground. The handball court, we're calling that moderate. I know some folks are really like that and want to use that. So, that is a feature that would be potentially removing for cost savings. However, we've identified that place to put it back in, and that would be an easy add. Reducing the trees, again, we're calling this kind of a low impact. It's also a low dollar amount, so that's always something that could easily be added back in, no problem. And then obviously the lighting is probably the largest impact to the design. But again, we're going to be keeping the conduit in there so that you have the opportunity to add the lighting back in. So again, these are alternates that we're discussing, design changes, and that we would add in as we do our construction documentation and going out to bid. We would have this, some of these as alternates, so a contractor could provide a price for that. So if the overall bid comes in, under budget, and we have the opportunity to add these pieces back in, we can at that time. So that's part of the process with alternates, in case anyone's unfamiliar with that term. And I think, next. Oh, sorry,
Yeah, it's just the next part is we are asking for public input at this point, and then, like I mentioned on the April 16th meeting for the Rec Advisory Committee, we implore people to please come and see this presentation and be able to ask questions and provide suggestions so that we can move forward. And then at this time, if the select board has questions, we'd be happy to answer.
Great. Tom, thanks. And just, again, a more detailed thing on the procurement side, as was mentioned, I think it's important, at least in my experience, and Rich knows in terms of some of the wastewater, when we do add alternates in the bid, it's important to stack them in an order that you have to select alternate 1 before you can select alternate 2 to 3. So I think there's a little input from, I'm looking at particularly Rec, Jamie, and Tracy in terms of, kind of ordering them in a way that's logical, so that the flow of it. But I mean, I think you've done a great job given the appropriation limitations, but at the same time, we've not been shy to say grant opportunities, or I love the idea of, contribute to some trees. I could see that happening in this town. So maybe Tracy or Jamie, anything to add? Because you've been really hard at work, and thank you for working on this, because I think we're going to see, some masterful work soon on this. Not all, but some.
No, thanks so much, Kevin. And I think that we're looking forward to continuing to work on the process to try and apply for grant funding. see what we can do. 10 years ago, I ran a GoFundMe project that raised $3,500 for the playground. So, you know, my little guy was only that tall, but now maybe he can help with the raking if we're going to put in some trees on our own, because we really need to make sure that we get all that stuff in there, especially with shade.
Make sure you're safety trained, Rich, you know, gotta,
I
Tracy, anything to
I
add?
would just very quickly add, I don't think it was mentioned, but I'm already looking for pockets of money to start getting some of this back in. One potential pocket is a savings in stormwater from that northern part of the project that we haven't heard back yet. But there, the thinking is that Reagan has.
Yes.
We have.
We got some late breaking
Oh.
news right
Please.
before this thing. So there is an opportunity. I think we were holding about $380,000 for stormwater conservatively. And our stormwater team has just come back with thinking that we could probably do this work for more like 200,000. So that's kind of a big savings. So, again, we have to look into a little bit more detail on that, but I think there is another good savings option there with the stormwater. And then in which case we could, some of these things could maybe go back in lieu of that stormwater. So, sorry for the
and
breaking
just-
news, but-
And just to Kevin's point before about the adults and, what order, we have to be cognizant of the fact that if at any point the band shell will be redone, that means the bathrooms would be done. And then that means that we would have to work on the septic tank, which is directly where that half basketball court would go. So we just have to be cognizant of that moving forward and figuring out where our adults are and what's the highest priority.
Board members? Matt, go ahead.
A couple of, I guess, questions. The two things that sort of jumped out at me was lighting and trees. I guess to start with, what lighting exists there that will just still be there when the project's over?
There's virtually none.
Nothing.
Okay.
Yeah. The only thing you really get is the lights that are off of Eldridge Park. Any ancillary lighting that you can see from there, but no.
We can tackle the lighting location so the basketball court could be lit when we get that funding, and then the tennis, so, do you know what I mean? So it's not like everything has to be lit all at once as
And,
funding.
and
We're
one of
not
the
waiting for
things
that.
Weston and Sampson will be working on also is, I know in here it said the phase for 6, the pedestrian lighting poles and fixtures, that's $640,000. That's everything. So we'll be able to have that itemized and then be able to say, okay, well, if it's going to be $125 or $200,000 for X, that's where we can place it and we can, mix and match.
Just so, the other question is, how many trees are going to get removed based on this plan?
Yeah. Reagan, do you have that number?
I don't have it handy. I know we had looked back at that
Yeah.
for our prior presentation, but we can get you that number
Yeah.
for sure. I think we
But
had it compared to-
our
I think
hope,
we were-
our hope was regardless of how many did come up, we would be planting more. And with the late breaking news, we are able to add in the additional trees.
And not to get
I
too
think we were
far,
trying to do a net positive on the trees. Whatever was coming out, we were going to be replacing, at least understandably. Mature tree size is not the same as, newly planted, but I believe that we had planned at least to replace one for one, if not more, so.
and this would be shade trees, not ornamentals,
They have to be.
Yes.
and they have to be native, I'm reminded. That's it for me.
All right. Michael?
Yeah, just a couple questions. Thank you, Reagan. Thank you, Tom and Jamie and Tracy. Question, when I was looking at the contingency, how does that apply with adults? Like, you have the contingency, which is about 770, then you have a 3% escalator, about 100, almost $900,000 in there. If you find you don't need that contingency, or it's less, are you able to then use that contingency
Yes.
also into the adults?
Yes.
Okay. So that's 900,000. That is, prices are escalating,
Yeah.
things are changing daily, but there's a potential that you could use that. Is
Yeah.
that- Okay, that's good to know. Thank you.
Any other comments? Only one, I mean, I'm surprised but not. When you look at the price of like lighting fixtures today, they're outrageous. And then you add the electrical, new connections, the 600,000 jumps out of the page at you. But if you break it down into the number of fixtures and the work involved, it's a scary number, but that is what it takes today to do electrical work. But I like Tracy's idea of maybe strategic installation where we could begin to make inroads, like the walkway lighting first. Although I'd still like to see more lighting to use extended hours, just saying.
No, that's big, and we're thinking safety with lighting too, with people are gathering in the evening. We want to make sure that it's well lit.
This is going to be a place people are going to want to come to. Just saying.
The only-
Oh, Reagan.
Yeah,
you're
and if
good.
I can just add in on the lighting, it
Please.
is a large number, and the number, mainly it's the sports lighting that
Yeah.
is like very expensive, right? So of that 640, about 485,000 of it is the sport court lighting. So, so the rest of the site, the pedestrian lighting is, only about 155,000 for
So
all
there-
smaller post
There you go.
So that's kind of the breakdown. Yeah, it's expensive.
Awesome. Michael?
Just a quick, something that, I was just at the meeting last night for the Veterans Park. And I think we all know that the monuments in Veterans Park are being paid for by the 501c3. And they've been able to raise a lot of money from the community. I mean, it's amazing, much more than they thought. They did all the bricks, and then they were able to do, they're gonna also refitting all the monuments is being paid for by the 501c3. So I think there are people out there that may want to contribute to this project, if they had an opportunity to, so just a thought.
Good point. Tom, Tracy, Jamie, thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, great job.
And again, a
Thank you all.
reminder, this is just a first presentation. As Tom said, outreach to the public, separate meetings, please, however you get your comments in, we want to hear them. Thanks.
Thanks a
All
lot.
right,
Thank you all.
Thank you so much.
so I'm just monitoring the clock. We got a 5:15, so we still have time. David, I see you and a few members of the committee. I think it's going to be brief, and as you're coming up to the podium, I do want to let everybody know, because I listened in at your last meeting, and the architect engineer and our owner's project manager could not make today's meeting, so they will be back on the 15th. We meet again in 2 weeks, which would be a great opportunity to delve into any details that may not be addressed here. But today was intended just as a quick update. Thank you for the building committee for being here on the fire rescue project. David, we've got what you saw in our packet, so I don't
Yes,
think we
yeah.
need to show the presentation.
No, I don't think it's necessary. I wanted to just give a kind of a recap of where we have been and where we are now.
Perfect.
And I'll be brief. So early on, we explored a 3-story option for the fire station. And this was due to the existing topography of the new site and the topography of where the existing fire station is. And the thought was, if we incorporated a 3-story option that was lower in the back, it could perhaps work with the design of the existing fire station. But we learned, for several reasons, it didn't work. One, it's significantly more expensive. It's operationally less efficient. We would have needed to expand parking onto the school property where the tennis courts now are, because we would be trying to reuse the existing fire station, and that takes up a big footprint. It would also impact a fewer sewer line or a future septic system location. All of the hazardous materials in the building would have to be removed and be abated. The renovation costs just to do that could be approximately $13,000. ADA access becomes an issue when you have these multiple floors and these 2 different buildings on the same lot. So ultimately, the committee decided to move forward with a 2-story building, which you have several iterations of in your packet that was provided to you, which will be improved upon for the April 15th meeting significantly. What will ultimately happen is we're going to end up with a relatively level site that will work operationally very well for the existing fire facility and have minimal impact on the adjacent elementary school property. So there are 4 designs, 4 schematics that were in your packet. I will point out that the gable end one, which was, it's the one that kind of looked like that. That was aesthetically the most pleasing to us. But then again, the net zero option, even though it's contemporary, we have a charge from the select board into trying to develop a net zero facility for you. So we have been moving along. I understand this board and the front office has been moving along with things that are hopefully going to help out the project as well. So that's all I have to say. But working with TGAS and Rick Pomeroy, it's a good team, and they're responsive and they're moving along quickly. So that's all I have to say unless you have any questions.
Yeah, why don't you stay there, David, and if you do have questions, but again, because I've been able to sit in on a couple meetings, however we interviewed and structured, you've got an incredible committee, bringing ideas from what
Well,
about this?
they're almost all here this
And
evening.
Again, thank you, because you watch your meeting and everything from Jeff's comments to Emily's, to everybody is like adding incredible value, and this is really gonna make a wonderful project, but happy to have you here. And again, just a reminder for folks that we'll get into a little bit more detail on the 15th, but any initial questions?
I just want to get into that net zero issue a little bit, because it seems to be something that stands out as a bone of contention on project cost. So, and I'm not sure that the definition of net zero is all that clear, but to me, solar panels plus a building that met today's stretch code, which is in place, would be sufficient. And if it would help the process to amend the charge and eliminate that, I would be in favor of it.
Mark Reel?
Just on that point, I am working with Ted Galante to bring to the select board a clarifying definition of what the select board means for net zero. There's many different variations to that, and so we'll bring something forward to you folks to decide and maybe give some more clarity, not only to the building committee, but to the public when we talk about net zero.
That would be a help for our committee.
And one
It
thing
really would be.
One thing I can add on that is, only wearing my energy consulting hat still, not that we want to be chasing rebates, but if we did follow the Cape Light Compact highest efficient path, meaning as high efficiency we can build the building on a low energy use intensity, you get the highest incentive. They do not require zero energy use. They just require for the building types that you get as low energy use as you can, and demonstrate you've used every reasonable way to get there. So it's not as if the meter won't spin for a few hours a day. It's accepted.
And I think that will go a long way toward addressing some people's concerns about the cost of complete net zero.
Michael?
Yes, on that topic, I guess, you know, when I'm for net zero, I'm for solar, I'm for renewables. I think it's a shame that we built the town hall, the DPW, the police station, the wastewater treatment plant, and we didn't use renewable solar. You know, by now, all those projects, pretty much except for the wastewater, might have been done and paid for, and we would be going forward without electric bills. And if we're looking to do a building and putting our mindset in a 50-year building that we've talked about and is in the plans, not to think strongly about making sure the next generation isn't burdened with those bills, whatever the costs may be up front, I think we're remiss. I would also, when Mark, you're looking into that, that's great, but I think people also need to be reminded, we do have the stretch energy code. So we have the green community, then the stretch energy. So we're not starting from no code. The delta will be between the stretch energy and whatever you define, or whatever the definition of net zero will be, which will be much smaller than what I've heard people talking about as a percentage, because we're already very close to it being there. So I'd definitely be interested in seeing what the additional is, but really putting our minds into like the next 50 years, and the next generation is gonna have to pay for these electric bills. And when you see oil prices go up by 50% in the last month, to think our country isn't going to continue be in conflicts, it would be kind of remiss of us. So that's.
And we kind of threw that back at Ted Galante because the net zero concept is a contemporary design. And we said, well, here you go. It's up to you to make it a nice looking contemporary design. So.
And I do hear Meff's point. You know, we're not gonna shoot our foot to.
And there is, I'm sure you're aware, there is discussion out there recently about costs for similar projects in other towns that people have been looking into. And this is a very different site. As was pointed out to me, some of those other projects were built on town-owned property,
Right.
flat,
Yes.
easy access. Here, we have none of those.
We have
We've
town-
had to buy the property.
Yeah.
It's not flat.
We own
The
it now.
access is an issue. So, I mean, when you're comparing apples to oranges or vice versa, there's a lot to dig down deep on.
And I can,
Please.
and I agree with that, and that's why I'm glad that you've come in, and I've watched your committee meetings, and I'm glad.
The team is, we got a great team.
Absolutely, and we knew that from the very beginning. We even added space on that team and increased the charge because there were so many great candidates. I guess you brought up at the beginning, and were you mentioning the reason you're not considering keeping the old fire station?
Several.
Okay, because, you know, the way I look at it, and I think everybody's pretty clear on how I feel, that, you know, I was on the first committee as the liaison to the fire station. That didn't go forward. I don't know if it's my Cape Cod ancestry, but I always look first to renovate or reuse something. Knowing how expensive and how difficult it is to get a building built in the town and how much it's gonna cost. When we're looking at this project, you know, I'm looking at right now close to and this is approximate, all in 65 million based on what we spent and based on what we might be looking for. You divide that by a 37,000 square foot building, you're coming to about $1,750 a square foot.
Right, and
Roughly.
it's still premature.
I got you, and this is very rough, but I just don't want to make sure we're not making decisions while we're still very premature.
So
If I
one of the
if I can finish.
Go ahead.
That would equate 13,000 square feet for the existing building to a $22 million building. Brand new if we were going to build it. And as everybody keeps reminding me, things are going to be more expensive in the future, and they're going up 3%, $1 million a year. By the time we ever want to use the building, you could be looking at what it would cost to build a $30 million building to replace that. Would it require significant renovation? Probably, if I may, to redo it, but you would save the costs on the demolition and redoing parking lot and all that. All I always was asking was to make sure it's a strong consideration and that we do get at least some options of looking at that. I think we're going to, not us around this table, because I don't think we'll be here in 15 years. But when that group looks back and the town looks back and says,
I plan on being here in
okay,
15
no,
years.
maybe you will be behind this, Diaz, I don't know. But when we look back in 15 years and say, we took down that building and what were we thinking? That's all runs through my mind at night. Maybe it doesn't for others, but I just wanted to make it clear. I think it's something something we have to think very hard about.
So, may I?
Absolutely.
That being said, in your packet, I asked Ted Galante to include the last page. The last page of your packet was something that Ted initially prepared for the committee, that if any of you or if anybody wants to go into more detail of how the site will not work efficiently or well for our fire department if we keep that rear building, and how it will impact the elementary school, I will spend the time to do so. I don't think now is the right place, because our committee has already voted to move on from this and move on toward a two-story design. I guess the ultimate decision rests with you. That's not, the charge is very fuzzy on that. We've made the decision to abandon the building and go forward with a two-story design. How that plays out, I defer to all of you. But that last slide in your packet is very helpful, and if anybody needs more time to understand why it's difficult to save that building, I'll be happy to give them my phone number or the packet.
No, and as I sat in the meetings as well, and if Mark were here, because he's a voting member.
He's
appointed,
sailing.
I think, it comes really down to the choice of the three-story that could potentially provide an option to keep some or all of the existing, or the two-story. The three-story, if I remember right, was 14 million more
Oh, easily.
because of all the
Oh,
elevation.
the car,
work.
in the three-story would be necessary if we were to keep the building.
There we go. So that's really what came out. And the other benefit we get of having that space usable for parking, as you mentioned at the outset, is what's the size of the storage? 30 by 100?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's incredibly beneficial, not for today's storage needs, but the future, hopefully. So again, there's been careful
Well,
consideration of
as
these.
Peter Canine has pointed out a couple of times, he's visited several fire stations, and they all have storage containers, new ones, all have storage containers on sites. These are projects that were just being built, so that's kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah, you want it to be incorporated and look right in the aesthetic as well as the function of what we're building.
Agreed.
Michael, go ahead.
Yeah, I went on those fire station visits with Peter, so I do remember that, of course, they always need more storage later. And we're probably gonna need more storage with this sooner or later. But, yeah, I mean, for next week, when they do come in, if you could just touch on what the thought process. I watched your meetings, I didn't see the last one on Monday, but the one before, when they made the decision from 2 to 3, I didn't hear any of that conversation about,
It was a previous, this was several meetings ago that we
Yeah.
made the decision to abandon the use of the
3.
existing building.
I remember, because I think Rich brought it up to make it clear in the meeting, and I watched that meeting, so I didn't get that all of that other discussion was with the group regarding that. But
It can,
as things change, as you said, there are other things in play.
would you like Ted to go into that when he comes on the 15th?
I'd like him to touch on it,
think-
yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah,
we'll certainly,
thank you.
Certainly
Appreciate
make
it.
that
I
a-
just want to make sure we explore
oh,
everything.
by all
and-
means.
and-
I think it needs to be dealt with.
Thank you.
Good.
One less hurdle.
Mark?
I'll just add that, Ted has been involved with this project way before we've got to this point too, right? He's done multiple studies on the existing building, and so he has an in-depth knowledge of what that building is, and so he's applied that experience to those decisions and the conversations we've had about whether or not it makes sense to keep that building. So he'll definitely be able to explain that in more detail for the board at the 15th meeting.
And again, Michael, you've been on this from the beginning. I'm thankful you're raising it. Also thankful that by April 15th, we'll have it fully addressed and not on the floor of town meeting on May 11th.
Correct.
This
That would
is
be
the
nice.
time to do it.
This
Yes.
yep.
Anything else for David Little? Committee members, thank you. Didn't he do a good job for you? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, David. All right. We are, believe it or not, something's working magically April 1st. Must be the full moon. It is 5:15, and we have a public hearing. So in our packet, I'll call the public hearing open on a Shellfish Grant renewal to discuss a vote to possibly renew a license for Fred Fulcher of 40 Pochett Road, grant number 21. Nate Sears, always good to see you.
Evening,
Welcome.
folks. Thank you. I'll try to make this as painless as possible. Fred's had a grant for probably close, if not more than 30 years in town. He has recently given up his grant in Pleasant Bay, but he still has a grant over by the windmill in Town Cove. It's off the family property of his. It's kind of a grandfathered-in grant, and he's ready to renew it. It came up for expiration sometime in March, and I'd like to give him another 10 years.
Would you like a motion, Mr. Turner?
Just only because it's a public hearing, is there anyone from the public with a question or comment? Anyone on Zoom, Peggy?
No hands raised.
Okay, so let's get a motion to close the public hearing on this grant renewal.
So moved?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Public hearing's closed. No.
Mr. Chair, I would move to approve the license renewal for Frederick Fulcher, holder of Grant 21, located in Town Cove, with an expiration of March 4th, 2036, unless sooner suspended or revoked. Said license does not grant any property rights.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
300. Thanks, Nate. Moving on to number 8, we have a vote, this is not needing a public hearing, but it's a request to modify a grant license held today by David Reed to a Bethany Gibbons.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Both David Reed and Bethany Gibbons are here tonight. This is provision of the aquaculture regulations. Upon favorable review of the Shellfish Constable, which is myself, if a grant owner would like to add an additional name to their license, they may submit an application to do that. That person is required to be on the wait list for a grant for a minimum of 5 years. Bethany has well exceeded that. She's still on the grant list, wait list for Pleasant Bay, where this grant exists. She has a grant on Cape Cod Bay, which was recently awarded to her, so don't be confused with that. And it's my recommendation that we allow David Reed to add Bethany Gibbons to his license. It meets the spirit of the regulation.
Thanks, Nate. Any comment on this one? Meth?
Yeah, I support this. I just have a sort of a question. I think you know my issue on all these things has been sort of maintaining the town's ownership, underlying ownership and control of all these agriculture grants. So this process of adding a person to a license, if if time goes by and the first person takes his name off of the license, then you've got, just the successor holder of the license. And so I'm just curious whether you see that as any, sort of avenue for skirting that issue.
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't use the word skirting. This was quite a comprehensive process that we went through when we revised the aquaculture regulations. We do think that there should be a healthy opportunity for exit plans or exit strategies with their business plans in aquaculture in the town of Orleans. It was one of the things that was broken, but we also acknowledge the fact that the wait list, we need to be fair and equitable. So that's why we included the provision that there should be a minimum of a 5-year term on the wait list in order to be eligible for this type of situation. But, if the shoe fits, it's a lot when you are willing to consider putting someone else on your aquaculture license, right? You still have to meet all the compliance and the standards that we require. So, and I don't think it's going to be a very common thing, but I'm glad to see that we're going to have a turnkey operation that's going to continue to be successful out in Pleasant Bay.
Any questions?
No, just a comment. Bethany, what are you doing to yourself? You just got Nauset, now you're going to Pleasant Bay. Thank you. Thank you for doing that. I think I think last time when we reviewed the regs, we all acknowledged this is very hard work. And it's a industry we would like to support and make sure continues in our town. And anybody willing to do it, I think, is important that we give the support, so.
Well said, Michael, and I know Bethany is sitting back there. I have your email that you sent requesting us. I mean, I could read it because I'm compelled almost to share that information, but if you said it with your own words, it might be pretty powerful. And some of your data is really impressive, including the wild side of Cape Cod Bay that you might want to share with us. So you're welcome to. Otherwise, I'll read it.
Okay, I'm going to let you.
Okay. So Bethany wrote, hoping our support of this grant in Pleasant Bay. She spent the last 9 years getting blown apart by storms and being crushed by ice on the wild west side of Cape Cod Bay. Cost of living continues to increase, but she is overwintering more than 500,000 oysters on land. She's pulling 450 oyster cages, 1,300 grow bags, 100 10-foot racks off the flats to store in her yard during the winter. Then a reset of all the gear 3 months later. So again, with David Reed's gracious permission to add her to the lease, sell her gear is not what she's asking. She's just moving over, and she's been on the wait list since 2015. So 90% of Cape Cod Bay gear can be retrofitted for subtitle use in Pleasant Bay. And I thought those numbers are pretty impressive. Thank you for you've got them. You've got the guns. So, all right. I think we've got a motion if the board's so inclined.
Mr. Chair, I would move to add Bethany Gibbons as the second licensee holder for grant number 54 located in Little Pleasant Bay with an expiration of November 25th, 2034, unless sooner suspended or revoked. Do
Second.
we want to add said license does not grant any property rights?
Please.
Please.
In your second?
Yes, I'll second
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
0-0. Thank you, David. Good luck, Bethany. Stay safe out there. Nate, what's your timeframe? Only because I did mention when we were doing agenda planning, we could segue to one topic and let you get out of here if you'd like.
I'm not going to argue with that.
All right, so what I'm suggesting, members of the board, is we go into just the vote on our final annual town meeting warrant article recommendations 11, just on one item. It's the fee increase proposed for the beach enterprise. It's just that one
Do
article.
we have that printed or no?
Do we have it printed?
No.
No, Mark sent it.
Is it in the pack?
Yeah,
What page?
Here.
What is it that you're looking for?
5.
Okay. Oh, so it's these three, yeah. Okay, gotcha.
So Nate, I'll just say, I'll do my last slide first. So next year, when we do enterprise funds, let's cover all this then. But anyway, so we've got
Cover all the debt, is that what you said?
not cover all the debt, but cover fees, because we've already reviewed the enterprise funds.
Understood, yeah, I submitted
So-
that recommendation within OpenGov, so I think it got lost in the process, so I
Understood.
apologize.
So I just want to get that out because we've all reviewed the enterprise fund, so this is kind of a fix of a certain deficit. So
Understood.
Nate,
We won't do it at the 11th hour now.
go ahead.
Thank you. And just for clarification, are we talking about specific to the resident increase, or would you like to hear what we recommend for any fee increases tonight? with
Go
the
over
enterprise?
any fee, yeah.
Thank you. As you're well aware, we're looking at a fairly significant deficit coming down the line here. We've been relying on retained earnings with the enterprise fund. I think the first thing just to acknowledge is that, there's a serious conversation that needs to happen at some point where, it's probably not practical to think that we're going to be able to rely solely on fees associated with the Beaches Enterprise Fund to support, the full cost of running the beaches. At some point, we could be looking at diminishing returns as we, raise the fees to actually, I don't even think it would be practical to try to get to that point to cover it's really the debt service that's gonna be coming down the line. We're actually at a point now where we're actually, expending our retained earnings to the point where in a couple of years, we're gonna be, that won't be an opportunity for us to even rely on those. So, a bigger discussion about, the enterprise policy for the beaches should happen at some point. But tonight, we're gonna continue we had a 3-year model that we proposed last year where we incrementally increased daily parking at Nauset and Skakit. Last year, we increased it from $30 to $32.50, a $2.50 increase. This year, we'd like to increase it from $32.50 to $35. That would result in an estimated $74,000 in increased revenue. The second recommended fee increase would be the resident taxpayer season beach pass. It's been $25 for years. We'd like to raise it to $35. That is equivalent and to what other towns are charging. We've looked at it in comparative data with the region, and we feel like that is fair. There's certainly towns that are charging significantly more for those passes, but because it's more than a 5% increase, that fee proposed fee increase needs to go to town meeting. That would result in an additional $66,000 in increased revenue. We understand that, you know, the combination of the 74,000 and the 66 is just a drop in the bucket when we're trying, you know, with the deficit that we're trying to cover, but we haven't really seen or reaped the rewards of the increase the significant increases that we put in the fee structure last year, as it's going to be rolling into the sticker season this spring. So once you get the hold of our FY '26 data, I think we'll have a better idea of, you know, what we accomplished with our fee increases last year.
That's a good point, because if this is voted by town meeting, you're already going to be issuing your stickers at the old rate. This doesn't go into effect until,
We're opening the sticker office May 12th. I did that on purpose to
Okay.
wait until we do the vote.
So
So
we'll apply.
so it could have.
So understand, yeah,
It will.
yep.
Okay. So the key will be our vote and the public hearing vote that sets it, kind of like water rates and other things.
Exactly.
Okay, I get it. Thanks. All right. I'm good. Board members, how will you feel?
I've got some questions, but go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yep, go ahead.
My questions are, you know, we've been talking about this for a long time, and while I agree, Nate, I do feel the beaches should be paying for themselves as close to as possible. I'm not concerned as much increasing the rates, especially for the visitors and the oversand. I think we have a lot of room here. I look at that, we're using $750,000 from the retained earnings this year alone for the next budget. I mean, you can divide that by the 5,300 homes, and you're talking about $140 a home is savings. And I know we're really looking at how do we address the taxes? How do we make the town more affordable? How do we make the town more livable? This is a huge way to do that. Would we drop maybe some, hypothetically? We don't know yet, but would we drop some users? Maybe. Would it be compensated by the higher price? Can we afford to drop some users? So either way, there's a lot to work on. I'm not suggesting we do that now. What I really would like to, though, and it's not to your fault, but I'd love to have these conversations in November and December and really try and work through this together and figure it out. This is our largest revenue generator of this town, other than property taxes. I think it's something that really needs to be looked at and analyzed, and maybe we have to take a risk here. But I spend a lot of time on that outer beach, as all of us do probably for the last 50 years. You know, it has gotten, it has gotten packed. Almost every spot is possibly taken. I think we can afford to raise prices, especially for the visitors. I notice on here, the biggest one we're raising to while we're trying to make the town more affordable and livable is for residents. And that doesn't kind of jive with what I think we're trying to do. So I'm for this. I do think it needs again, just to be repetitive, I do think it needs a lot of analysis and go forward of what we're going to do next year. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
May I add that
Oh,
the biggest
can
part
I
of the
add too?
conversation? Yeah, sorry, Kim, is that this is just the tip of the iceberg in terms of what we have for debt coming down the pipe.
Yeah.
We're looking at a $3.5 million project in Nauset Beach, and we're already in a deficit of $700,000 or $800,000 here.
Right. Just to be clear, we did a presentation last year and we did an analysis of the fees for the beach, which is why we brought forward our first changes last year. And also, to be fair, Nate is not responsible for the fees that are charged at the beach at all. It is the select board of the town. So I think your comments should be addressed to the board about meeting in November to start a conversation earlier about if this is a topic that you would like the board to look into. He is not the beach. And I think we have to be clear on that. He does not get to decide on his own what is charged there.
So what action do we need this evening?
I just would like to sort of continue this questioning if I could. And so the decision process that picked the resident taxpayer sticker for the parking lot as the place where we would raise fees, but leaving the over sand vehicle rates the same. I guess I'd love to hear the thought behind that.
Sure, I mean, and, you know, something that we certainly can bring forward when we sit down and discuss this, but it's comparative data with other, you know, regional programs and other communities, what they're charging for visiting their beaches. Last year, we went heavy after the non-resident overstand. We're charging $400 for a non-resident overstand sticker now. I hear, you know, the talk that, you know, there's people that are unlikely gonna purchase a sticker this year based on that cost. Maybe we wanna prioritize residents, you know, but I can't guarantee you that we're not gonna, and I don't know the modeling where it exists. All I can do is bring comparative data about what other towns are charging in the region. And, you know, what's the limit of that? You're asking the wrong guy. We can find out the hard way, but, you know, the reality is, I find it hard to believe that we're ever gonna get fees to cover the costs that are coming down the pike associated with the beach. We might have to look at the benefits of, or Nauset Beach and Skakit Beach, not just the users who are paying for 2.5 months out of the year.
Yeah, I think also add, as we remember at our last meeting, and Nate, thanks for that information on the current use of the resident sticker. That's more than just beaches. It's at restricted landings. It's at other areas that we are actually trying to enhance the value of this sticker beyond the beach.
Good point.
So I find this compatible with what we're doing and giving people better quality access to, you know, the environment that is really to share. So I think for this point, we're good. This was really just an update on this. Coming soon to a meeting near you will be a public hearing that when we hold it, public can comment. Nate and Stacy, you'll be back, and that's when we actually take the vote. But go ahead, Mark.
Just add that later when we talk warrant, we just replace and support vote on this because it's changed considerably.
So that's the point Mark's making under the warrant article that pertains to the beach enterprise. This updated fee table is part of it.
But that's tonight.
That is tonight.
Right.
Yes.
And just, you know, I'm okay with this too. I think, just to answer a couple of questions, and this is just me, I don't think the beaches will ever become supported by user fees. I mean, I don't think that's possible. And where it stands now, you know, it's not dipping into the general fund because you have retained earnings, which will be gone relatively soon. If they weren't there, the equivalent of the general fund contribution here would be somewhat similar to the transfer station. So, you know, I think it's 32%. And so I don't mind that. But I think I do agree with Michael that the quality of the sort of experience is something that is worth factoring into pricing, because if a certain number of non-resident sticker holders for over sand vehicles decided it was too expensive for them, I don't mind that. And you know, I just think that it's maybe one of the biggest bargains any place. You know, for a whole season of being able to use that beach, it's, you know, the expression I use is that I suspect that a lot of the cars that are going out there in the summertime spend more to provision their daily trip than the sticker costs. So I think there's plenty of room for
We have to discuss our goals with, you know, in terms of, you know, our strategizing what our fee structure looks at. It can't be just to close the deficit.
Right, right. Well,
And
that's,
if you don't mind, Mr. Chair, I'd just ask Molly to put on next November, Beaches Enterprise Policy Discussion somewhere tentatively.
just doing it. Thanks, Nate. Awesome job. And Mark Matheson, welcome. What we did was a quick segue so Nate could get out of here just to talk a little bit about the fee changes. When we get to the warrant articles, we can talk, but I wanted to thank you both, Stacy, Nate, for sticking around and covering that. All right. So
It's wet.
it certainly is wet. Board want to cover consent agenda quickly, and we can go into executive session?
Would you like a motion?
Yes, please.
Mr. Chair, I would move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second?
Any discussion on the consent agenda? There were 3 items. All in favor?
Aye.
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 400. Thanks, everybody. So folks, I don't know how long we'll be. Executive sessions can be very short, but we welcome you coming back when we complete our business, and we'll then return to finish up the town meeting warrant recommendations and get into the debt exclusion questions, so. Bless you.
You want a motion?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, I would move to move into executive session to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property located on Eldridge Parkway if the chair declares that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body, and then to reconvene in open session.
Second.
Moved and seconded, and before I call a vote, the chair does declare that an open meeting on this item would have a detrimental effect on our negotiating position. So by roll call, I'll call for a vote. Michael?
I'm Michael Herman.
Hi, Kevin Galligan?
I'm F. Runyon.
Aye, Mark Matheson.
Okay. Peggy, we're in executive.
That discussion is probably something worth having.
All right, thank you, Peggy, for putting us back on air. Just wait for some folks to come back in the room. I know there are a few finance committee members. Any others, Nick?
How many are coming back?
Left.
The right ones are here.
Okay.
Yes.
I declare that I'm not gonna miss.
All right. So was there anyone else out in the hall, you think?
I don't think they're coming back.
I already told them.
Yeah, they come this way.
I already told them.
Okay. Okay.
6:15, perfect. All right, folks, as we're back from executive session and public session, I have some pretty exciting news to announce. You'll see when we get to the final vote on town meeting warrant article recommendations, a certain article number 16, land acquisition for the development of the new proposed fire rescue station. We are really pleased that the Select Board has authorized the acquisition of approximately .48 acres at 48 Eldridge Parkway. This is the site of the dentist we know and love. They served for, I think, in my case, over 30 years, known as Lower Cape Dental Associates. This property abuts the parcel the town has acquired at last fall's special town meeting. This acquisition will support the development of our new fire rescue station by improving site access, increasing design flexibility, with the shared goal of minimizing impacts on the surrounding area, specifically the Orleans Elementary School and Lower Cape Dental Associates. It is important to note the town is only acquiring the portion of the property as an acquisition. It will not impact the operations of the dental practice. The town of Orleans looks forward to continuing our collaborative approach to ensure Lower Cape Dental Associates can continue operating without disruption. This article is a practical solution to help construct a major community project in a way that is mindful of the site, our surrounding business, the schools, surrounding neighborhood. And residents will have their opportunity to consider and vote in support of this article at May town meeting, May 11th. So, thanks, everybody. A special thanks to Mike Solitro, who has really, really worked hard for many months on this. And Mike, you've done an awesome job, and more to come. So, board members, we have a few articles to finish up with recommendations. Mark Reel, I've highlighted 12, the personnel bylaw, and this one I just mentioned, Article 16, and the article on the fire rescue station and the enterprise fund. And again, we've got Steve O'Grady from the Orleans Conservation Trust coming in on the conservation restriction. Those are the only ones I think we've got.
And the year-round housing trust establishment.
Okay,
if, just for consideration conversation.
Okay, so that's there. So you want to take them in order, the Chapter 40 Personnel Bylaw?
Yes, so we received some information yesterday about the amendments to the compensation charts for Plan B and Plan D employees. Those are our part-time employees and our seasonal employees. There are adjustments to address COLA changes. So in FY '26, it's applying a 3.5% COLA, which aligns with our unions and Plan A employees. And in FY '27, the charts are adjusted for 3% cost of living adjustment. There are some changes to where the placement of lifeguards and other beach employees are in the charts to make our community more competitive with other surrounding communities. So that adjustment was made with consultation between Nate and Denise in HR. There's also adjustments to the rates of pay for reserve police officers and for our on-call fire folks who, those are not very much used rates at this point, but we just want to make sure we're keeping up with addressing those numbers and keeping them in line with the cost of living adjustments on the other groups.
So in this wording, warrant wording thing, that may be one version out of date for me, but I don't think, I'm not sure it applies to this one. The reference to amendment on file with the town clerk, or to take any other action there too, how many pages is that? Is that a lot of pages?
It's only going to be the charts.
Yeah.
So, and the, just the information on those on-call.
But
So we're
is
gonna-
that gonna be in the warrant or not?
I'm going to put it in the back. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so it'll be on file with the clerk and in the back.
And does the Personnel Bylaw have to hold a hearing or a meeting? No.
No.
Okay,
The Personal Advisory Board did vote to support this.
excellent.
So just on that, in the wording here, it says on file with the town clerk and also at the back of this warrant or something like that, just to be
Sure.
clear.
Nice. Any other
And a
thoughts on this one?
reminder, this is a consent calendar, so
It's all wrapped together. Are we good with updating the,
Yeah, I asked Mark a question earlier today. He
Great.
was great, thank you. So I'm good.
maybe a motion to
Thank you.
place and recommend?
This was
12?
12. Mr. Chair, I would move that the select board vote to place and support warrant article number 12.
Second?
Moved and second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
4-0. Next one is this item on land acquisition for the development of fire station, number 16.
Don't we have
Well, we're gonna,
14?
those,
The chart shows that we did
place those.
place and recommend.
Dog?
not the 13.
I'm sorry, the dog article is being withdrawn from request.
Oh, I'm looking at the, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the packet.
Oh, wow.
Still in the
This
packet.
There was one sent last night that has information that
Yep.
was not privy to the public due to the executive session, and so what you were received yesterday is
This came out
the one
today.
we're working off of.
Okay,
Sorry.
so it's gone.
Yes.
It's updated.
That's good
Yes.
for me. Thank you.
No dogs at this
No
meeting.
dogs.
Could you clarify, we were taking it out?
Yes, the language has been drafted and we've been working on it, but there's remaining questions about it, and we felt that we can
So it's gone?
work on it over the summer, yeah.
Dogs
Now.
at a future meeting.
Or never.
Okay. I think we're good to go to what is Article 16 now.
No, that's the okay, sorry, you go ahead, because I have obviously not the updated version.
Yes, Article 16, land acquisition for the development of the fire rescue station. The language is generally what you've had for months. We've just filled in the details.
So again, the language is for,
Would you like me to read the language?
yes, please.
Okay, we'll Hold on one second. All right. Okay. To see if the town will vote to authorize and direct the select board to acquire by gift, by purchase, by eminent domain, or otherwise for general municipal purposes, a portion of land together with the improvements thereon located at 48 Eldridge Parkway, Orleans, Mass., and shown on the Town of Orleans Assessor's Map 40 as parcel 66, and containing an area of approximately .48 acres or 20,909 square feet, more or less, and described in a deed recorded with the Barnstable County Land Court in document number 1091-246, certificate of title number 186127, and shown as a portion of Lot 56 on Plan Number 18010-W, directly abutting the town-owned parcel shown as on the Town of Orleans Assessor's Map 40 as parcel 67. Got that?
Mm-hmm.
And to raise and appropriate or transfer from available funds the sum of $600,000 for such acquisition, provided that such land shall be under the control of the Select Board for general municipal purposes. And further, to authorize the Select Board to purchase the land and to execute any and all instruments as may be necessary on behalf of the town, or to take any other action relative thereto.
This is very standard language for any acquisition the town has done in the past.
And this is a free cash transfer proposed.
Wonderful.
What's the article number now?
16.
16.
Because didn't we vote to move the comprehensive plan article up?
Yes, that is Article 15.
Article 15.
That's 15, okay.
Yep.
You said the dollar amount?
600,000, yeah.
So moved,
Moved to place and recommend.
place and recommend.
Second.
Any further discussion?
The only thing I would mention is if we do get this, if this does vote past us, we let the architects know as soon as possible, because this is 85 feet of additional frontage on 8 Eldridge Parkway. That's a huge amount of additional frontage. So,
I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
400. Thank you. So what is now revised Article 17, which is fund the construction of a new fire rescue station. I think we, bless you. We've seen this
This one is not
not changed.
new.
We're not voting this tonight.
Yes, you have to.
It's going to print Friday.
This is the last meeting for articles.
I was under the impression we were not voting this until we met with the architects.
That would be beyond the time frame for printing.
All we're voting for is authorization to borrow, correct?
We're authorizing up to, it would be up to 60 million for a borrow.
Just
It's
authorizing.
not the specific design,
Borrow.
No,
Details in design, we have months still to go.
and they'd come after.
Right.
You know, there's a lot of opportunity to continue to talk about final design.
And final cost.
Exactly. Final cost is once the bids come back, so.
Yeah, the other alternative, if you didn't want to vote to be printed, is we vote before town meeting and we announce it to the board, to the floor.
Or he could abstain.
that's what I would rather do.
Okay.
Or abstain, yeah.
Okay.
I think we should be getting some analysis from them, the architects, before we vote for this. Sorry, I think that's,
For whatever it's worth, that's what we're going to do too. We can't vote on an empty.
Yeah. So, Nick, if you want to come to a mic and share that, that'd be great.
and I'd be happy to vote before town meeting, but I would like to do it, I'd like to get the presentation from,
Nick Athanasiou,
Analysis.
Finance Committee. The Finance Committee is unlikely to vote in favor of this before the presentation on the 15th. So we're not going to have a vote in one way or the other, and that's what I wanted you to know.
I would really like to remove the votes from the warrant entirely and just have them be made in support on the floor that night, and then this never becomes an
Yeah.
issue again.
So you can just say the select board.
The
voted.
moderator will say, go to the chair of the select board and say,
that's
what was the
stronger.
select board vote? And then go to the chair of the finance committee and say, what did the printing doesn't add any weight.
Perfect.
And that would give both the select board and the finance committee
More time.
a lot more time
To craft the
leading
message.
up to town meeting to have a clear position.
That's what I would prefer. I think it's.
So we will
less
remove the support votes from the booklet.
Yeah, and
So can we at least place?
they'd have to decide that.
We do need to
We
place.
do need to place, and by just placing, then Mark, you'll put the words on the vote to be made at town meeting, correct? That's what the black and white will say?
Now, are we doing that just for this article?
What others you,
Well, I thought that you were suggesting.
I am. I'm suggesting that we get into the pattern on the floor of when a person gets up, reads the motion and the article, and then the moderator says, select board, what was your vote in this article? And then you read a statement that says, the select board voted unanimously to support this article. Finance committee, what was your vote on this article? The finance committee voted 4-5 because we were whatever, X, Y, Z. That's the moment to say the pieces. It's not actually get up and then read about them. It's supposed to be when you're talking about whether you support them or not in that motion piece. Karis
So-
will help us
great, so
right back into that.
could we get a vote to place on 17?
So that's the article number now, it's 17 on
Fund,
here.
it says fund.
It's 18 in this.
And the construction of a new fire rescue station.
What number is the article?
It's 17.
Okay. Mr. Chair, I would move that we vote to place Article 17.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
4-0. All right, next item, we heard from,
Excuse me. I think we need to clarify, though.
I'm still unsure of.
Right, you're placing it at 60 million, printed in the warrant. I don't want to hear later that I thought we weren't printing a number, right? Just want to be clear.
Well, we're printing it as.
we're printing it as presented.
Okay,
Yeah.
just want to be clear.
Only thing I would say is I did send Mark under the explanation, just a couple of minor tweaks, nothing.
I've fixed, I've
major.
added that.
So I think we're good for 17. We do need to do a revote on what's now Article 20. I'm looking at F and maybe Mike or yours were probably 21, the Beach Enterprise Fund budget. Because we heard from Nate with the support for the fee changes, which will appear as a table with these changes, so we do need to revote.
Mr. Chair, I would move that we place and recommend the FY '27 Beaches Enterprise Fund budget, inclusive of the fee changes.
Great.
Second,
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
that was place and support.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's a 4-0-0 instead of the 5-0-0. And the last item, and I see Steve O'Grady is here. Welcome, Steve. Our article on the purchase of 32 Locust Road conservation restriction had just a question about what's on the town. Do we have to do any work, right, Mark, in terms of concerns you might have asked about a previous CR for Port of Nimicut? So, welcome, Steve.
Thank you. So Steve O'Grady with the Orleans Conservation Trust, and as you said, Kevin, I think I heard at last week's meeting that there was a question about this proposed purchase of a conservation restriction by the town of Orleans in relation to a past project at 66 Port of Nimicut Road in South Orleans. And there was an important distinction in that partnership between the Orleans Conservation Trust and the town. That was in, I want to say, 2019 timeframe. And because that property provided a preferred access to an existing town conservation area in the Christian property, we had talked with town staff about their preferences for how we handled the partnership. And in that case, the town wanted to own the property, or at least the staff that we talked with, John Janelle, not to throw anyone under the bus. I think it was the right decision for the town to own that property. And so in that case, because the town is the owner of the trailhead piece, they were responsible for installing the parking, putting in the trailhead. And in this case, the town is being pitched with the purchase of a conservation restriction, specifically so that OCT is in the role of maintenance of the property and improvements to the property, and so that the town can avoid those ongoing maintenance obligations. So we always try to work with the town from the beginning of any given project to make sure that we're having our needs met and the town is happy with its role in the partnership. And in this case, I think the town is happy, as I understand it, to acquire a conservation restriction that will ensure that the property is protected, allow the CPA funds to reach OCT while not having the town in a role of being on the hook for ongoing maintenance. If I can just add one last thing.
Please.
This property is a little bit complicated in the sense that Cedar Pond Road goes right down pretty much to the edge of the pond, close to the edge of the pond. And so there may be a scenario where, in order to provide appropriate access to the pond, we would still be trying to partner with the town on any improvements right on the edge of the road. But anything that happens on this 32 Locust Road parcel itself would be on the Orleans Conservation Trust.
So I think, Stephen, one of the questions that I had when we were discussing this last week was just the notion that the proximity of this property to the downtown of Orleans, where we just voted in the fall an overlay district, where we are really trying to create a walkable village in the downtown with residences there, especially in a vibrant downtown setting, that my question was basically directed towards not having parking improvements or the like to this parcel, that we would encourage that people walk there. That rather than the town spending money to develop parking and road improvements or whatever, that this should be focused on walking to go hand in hand with what we're doing to the downtown overlay district in terms of making it a walkable village. And I thought this place would be a prime spot to do that, to eliminate the, cars going down there, to eliminate the traffic on that small back road. Both back, Locust Road gets a lot of traffic already, but I think, the other side roads do not. And so if we can make this a walking destination, I think that would be much more palatable to the townspeople, whatever money is spent there.
I certainly would agree with that, and I think the parking that we have contemplated adding would be in the range of like 2 to 3 spaces. I think we're talking about much smaller than what you might see at other town conservation areas or even other OCT conservation areas for that reason. I think we're hoping that we can capitalize on the Cape Cod Rail Trail being close by and affordable housing being close by. But we also don't want to preclude people being able to drive to this property to access Cedar Pond, which residents don't have a good way to do today.
Yeah, I still, I just, and that's a personal opinion, I'm not speaking for the rest of the town, but I think, we have an opportunity where we talk about eliminating motor vehicle traffic and the carbon footprint of that traffic. It's a conservation area, so why would you have any parking at all? If people want to use it and access it, they can park downtown, they can walk there. To, create parking and invite motor vehicles into that area, I see defeats the intent of having that conservation area and having it accessible to a walking downtown village.
Matt?
And I couldn't agree with Mark more. I'm all for eliminating automobiles from anything, but in this case, I think there is a hope that there will be kayak kind of launching and fishing kind of launching someday there. I don't know when, but that sort of usage would need some help with vehicles.
Michael?
The only thing is, I agree with Mark. The only way I see it is maybe there's one spot for handicap. In thinking of, people who might access it walking from downtown is not feasible because of handicap. So if there was one or two spots that were handicap only, I could see that as a good compromise. I don't know, but I want to make sure it's accessible for everybody in town. That's my 2 cents.
So this dialogue discussion, and I'll ask you, Steve, from the standpoint of the select board voting to advance this, are some of these particulars relative to, once the purchase goes through, which is still pending, and once the CR gets voted and funded through CPC, would it be right to say you could come back and visit with the town on finalizing uses, to Michael's
Sure.
point, or, because I'll say, I can see one use where accessibility for a kayak over periods of sampling would be helpful, because this is a sampled pond that I know I've gone down, and is very difficult to, meander through. Not saying we want to encourage it, but I can see some very restricted, access use. But to Mark's point, this should not be promoted as, hey, here's the Red Star, everybody come and drive there. We have those
all trails.
We have all those already. So I'm thinking there could be a sit-down to kind of put the land management aspect on another meeting.
Sure,
So
absolutely.
we could allow this to go forward. Is that amenable?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
All right. So with that said, if there's interest, Kim,
I have
you
a couple I want to talk about.
on this one?
Well, do we need to?
Vote on his, yes.
Yeah, we haven't even done we should place and recommend if we're interested.
I have check marks in here for the community, for the CPC one.
Right.
Not yet. but
No,
this
no,
is the
just for the
second.
32 Locust.
Mr. Chair, I would make a motion to purchase 32 Locust Road Conservation Restriction, to place and recommend.
Second.
There's a second. And again, just as I said, and Matthew may say, I'm still a trustee. In full disclosure, I don't see a conflict. Have to get that in the record.
Yep, me too.
Okay. So a call for vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 4-0. And that's to place and recommend. Kim, go ahead.
Thank you. So I had the opportunity to watch the Finance Committee meeting from last week, and I know you did too, Kevin and Michael. I know that you were there, and there were a number of questions that the committee seemed confused about some of these articles on here. So some of them are low-hanging fruit that we can answer so that you can bring those back. For instance, Article 34, establishment of the Special Purpose Stabilization Fund for Affordable Housing and Local Infrastructure Projects. This is the article that passed at the last town meeting, which is the funding arm of the
3% community local impact fee.
community
for
impact fee.
Professionally managed.
It passed successfully, but it needed 2/3 or three-quarters.
The issue was that it needs 2/3 vote, but it was announced that it passed by simple majority.
Right, so
we
it's a
needed
revote to make sure we vote it the right way. It is not something that's new. I heard a lot of talk about abstentions from voting on topics because of lack of information, and I just wanted to make sure that we're clear that we've had a number of meetings here about items. We've been over this, we've been working on this warrant since January, and we've had a bunch of joint meetings, so I would really like to relay back that we feel like we have shared everything that we possibly can by staff. Of particular note that I was not particularly pleased with, which was a comment that we've had a number of joint meetings on the budget and none of your questions were answered. And so I would like you to address that at your next meeting, because if there were questions that were unanswered about the budget during the hearing or the subsequent meeting, we would be very interested to hear what they are. So we are very Yes, we would very much like to be a part of that process. And I'm saying this, and I know that you can hear the frustration in my voice. Part of the reason that I'm saying these things now is because the amount of hours that my staff has put in the last 2 months is unbelievable. And I think I'm not going to call out anybody in this room, but in the last month alone, I have a staff member who's probably attended 25 meetings, right? And a lot of additional meetings that were added at nighttime based upon requests, which are fair. But they need to come through the manager's office. Staff requests cannot go directly to staff. They have to come through the manager's office, including division heads that are reporting at meetings. And I just want to remind everybody on this board and on that board, we all have day jobs here. So as much as we love to attend meetings and answer questions, it is absolutely unreasonable to expect that a department head is going to attend multiple meetings of a committee for every question, especially when we have brought them in, they have answered the questions honestly and openly, and then those answers are not received and then debated again at future meetings. So I just wanted to state that after watching that meeting, that it sometimes feel like insult to injury because we have been going out of our way to really give everyone what they need to feel that they have the information. So the biggest enemy we have at any time is the misinformation that is being discussed in our boards or by our members of boards that is factually incorrect. So please help us out so that we can have some work-life balance again and still achieve all your goals, please.
If I can add too, Kim, you have been amazing in terms of recognizing and respecting the independence the Finance Committee has by charter, but providing more than generous opportunity for dialogue together. And, you know, a few of us, I'm looking at Mark, Meph, myself, Michael, you didn't experience as much of the, I don't want to call it, but there was a gap in sharing of information in a prior regime. Elaine recalls this, so does Lynn very well. You know, you will get this when it's required by charter and knock yourself out. We've embraced dialogue and sharing information. So, and again, Elaine, to your point, you sent a write-up of very specific questions on advancing wastewater planning and management. We will address each one of those. And having them in writing, knowing what they are, there's answers for them. Darren and his team can certainly do a masterful job. And Kim, again, thank you for all you've put into this, because it's a change.
I say it, but honestly, I'm not worried about me. I'm worried about the incredible people that I've recruited to do these jobs and having them be burnt out by feeling like they're on a hamster wheel with the same questions over and over again, and then they're not accepted. Like, we've got to break that pattern somehow. So any help you can give, I would appreciate.
So on that note, anything else to add that we can be helpful for the Finance Committee? Because you do have an important meeting coming up tomorrow. And I do know, Darren, you provided a copy of hard work that's been done in the last 4 days on a pro forma. I say it with, you know, it's loaded with assumptions, but it's our best information that shows. And Darren, you might want to come up and just, again, this is.
Please put it on the screen, just for a minute. Sorry, Kevin.
No, please.
They've been,
So this is.
they've been killing it in there.
Yeah.
Brings you back to the old, remember the old budget sheet with the colors? Gave me a little, I know.
So as we're going to the debt and debt service forecast, there still is one item, Mark. We still have to work on what's now number 34.
Yes.
Okay,
the-
so we'll-
Oh, you want to go back and do this and go back to that?
Yeah.
I do want to just mention, because there's two different charts that are going around. Maya has gone out of her way to create a long-term debt schedule out to 2046. I didn't use that one specifically for this, but that's going to be the basis for modeling the impact to taxpayers longer term than what we have here. What I'm showing you right now is an updated version of what Scott provided to the Finance Committee a couple weeks ago. Real quick, I'll just show you this. This is just an overview of what Maya did. I want to give her a lot of credit. She's put this together. This will be the basis for a longer term analysis. You can't really see it. I mean, I just want to show you how far it goes out and how much data is in it, and how much good work.
So you have to say.
Yeah.
We can't see the years on.
So the far right is 2046. Obviously, the far left is 2026. We've got 20 years of data essentially in there of all debt, current debt, and future debt, and debt that is on the actual warrant this year. So just this is a visualization. And I'll go to what we have. What I have here. One second. This is up to 2032. So what's important about this is 2032. 2031 is the year that the fire rescue station would hit our debt schedule, right? After if it's approved at this town meeting. 2032, to the right of that, is the year that the three different phase four debt would hit the schedule. So both of these kind of overlap at that point. And what we wanted to do is provide an analysis on how much it would hit, how much it would impact the median taxpayer, median home owner in Orleans. So if you look at that, it goes, the last 3 years goes from 10 million to 14 million to 15 million in terms of from FY30 to FY32. So with that, in order to model this, you have to extrapolate how much the median home value is going to increase over the next, between now and 2032. So I used a log linear regression to do that. I didn't really go into, probably getting this with Nick, but trying to weight the really outlier years that we've had in the last 4 or 5 years over the last 20 would be much more complex. In order to keep it in a simpler, I just did a simple log linear regression where and you have a 3.44% increase each year, because we're not anticipating that what we saw of the last 6 years to continue on into the next 10 years. So there obviously can be a much more detailed and more normalization of the data that we could do, but we didn't do it here. So with that, this is the current FY26 median home value, and as you can see, as it goes down, you can see how much all of that debt, as it comes on the debt schedule in 2031 and 2032, impacts, as you can see, year-over-year increase on median home value to the second to the far right column. And so in 2030, you'll see a $234.94 per year increase. In 2031, when the debt for the fire station hits, you'll see a $614 increase. And then when the phase 4 sewer hits, you'll see a $202 increase. So that's the answers that I think people were looking for. But also, so it's specific to the 3 sewer debt issues that's on this warrant. This is the percentage of that $202 per item that would impact to 2032. So you're seeing this. So it will inform the Finance Committee and the Select Board a little more. Sorry, one second, because I messed this up. Try to get it. So you can see what percentage of that $202 each one of these projects would be 10%, 20%, 68%, or how much. So essentially $21 per year, which is about $1.75 per month increase for the first phase 4 project. And keep in mind, see the green letters to the right, you have the 20% betterment applied, and in the phase 4, the bottom one, you have both the Cape and Island subsidy also applied. So when you see the debt, it's not always exactly what you're seeing. What we've done is taken out what won't be paid for by the taxpayer and giving you what the taxpayers are actually going to pay. And so you end up with $201.32 increase per year for those 3 different projects that's on the warrant this year in 2032 when it hits the debt schedule. So I hope this helps to inform the select board and the finance committee in making your decision. And I'm subject to your questions. That's what I have.
Nick, please.
As you know, we have 10 people on the committee, and their perceptions vary a bit. But 2-3 weeks ago, we had Scott Walker come
Yeah.
and talk to us, and I think that anybody who has problems understanding debt, they should go and watch that video.
Exactly.
Because it's like it was like a seminar. So I think we're fine, and the extra information that you gave us today is terrific. The one thing that I have to say also is that some of the noise that you hear is about what happens after 2031. And my crystal ball doesn't go that far, but some people's does. And it's sort of legitimate because we have all these phases, and nobody seems to have seen all the phases in one. I know they're up there, but that's what I wanted to say. This is terrific. Thank you.
It is. Thank you, Darren. And Maya did a great job. Any questions for Darren on this? Matt, please.
Darren.
You've been asking for this, too.
Yeah, this is great. I mean, I really appreciate this. My only question is, does debt roll-off come into this at all?
You won't see a debt roll-off doesn't show up in this, but you see a little. You will see more debt roll-off hit. I think in 2036. I think is the year that you start seeing more of. There's also a consideration. I don't want to throw Rich under the bus, but there's also a consideration, discussion as you work through the Waterworth conversation and the pro forma that they're creating, and that there'll be a year when the wastewater stabilization fund no longer is required to help fund the daily operations of the wastewater department. And at that point, those funds could be redirected to pay down the 80% of the debt and have a significant impact on the taxpayer impact. So that could be a policy decision that's made based on the data and Rich's analysis that comes from Waterworth, and something I would recommend that you consider in the discussion when that comes to you for policy decisions.
And they're really where
Yeah.
Rich has talked as well as Darren, there will be a break even in
Yeah.
terms of greater use, bringing in revenue, covers the operation. But at the same time, there are increased costs, and it's not a and B. The formula has a lot of variables to it.
And there isn't a specific, but it's within a few years of this debt hitting the schedule that could be potentially released. So there could be relief within a year or two of that.
Darren, can you go back to
Yeah.
the first slide, the current and projected debt?
This one?
Looks a little different, no.
Which-
The current and projected debt on the spreadsheet, the rainbow one.
The rainbow one?
The
Okay.
most rainbowy of the rainbows.
There you go. Yes.
No.
One down at the bottom shows the,
Not that one.
okay.
I'm talking about.
Oh, you mean the big one?
I'm talking about this rainbow.
Yeah, that's Maya's. Okay, 1 second. Yes. That one. There you go. Yeah.
Okay, you can't see it on here.
Yeah.
But, so zoom in, zoom in, zoom in.
Now, what do you want me to zoom in on?
I want you to zoom in right about here,
Okay.
on that line.
Total.
Because what I want to point out is
There we
that's
go.
something that people
Debt
have been
total.
asking for. Debt total that impacts tax rate, all barring minus CPA and water.
Yeah. Correct.
And that's the total right there. And so that question comes up a lot about complexity, so when you're going through all this, look for that line, because that's the actual tax rate ones that people want to know about, right? And it's in the middle of that rainbow, but it's there.
So, and this is that out to 46. So we're putting the data together for that so that, you know, if FinCom wants to see it, they could do some additional analysis if they wanted to.
And I think you gotta put an asterisk after every single year that's 31 on and basically say estimate, 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 estimate,
Yeah.
estimate, estimate. So like, right.
All projected.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, the handout doesn't have that one.
This is a really long spreadsheet. I wouldn't hand it out to you.
I'm gonna save them a copy
Okay.
and then send that. Nick will be all over it, so they have their
Sounds
own
good.
to manipulate and they'll be in it. So that's
Give
my
May a
plan.
lot of credit for this. This is
Yeah,
work that
no,
she's
it's
done.
excellent.
Once the select board and FinCom requested it, she put a lot of hours into it, so you got to give her a lot of credit for
Yeah,
getting it together so
amazing.
quickly. Yeah.
Please.
Darren, the only thing I would, getting back to debt roll-off, it would be good maybe to just plug in that timeline, the big ones that roll off. I mean, you have the police and DPW to look forward to and exactly when that's going to happen. I don't know if there's any substantial big items like that that are scheduled to drop off in the next
It's
5,
it's
10,
in
15 years.
it's in here.
It's in the big one.
It's in
this one, yeah.
giant one.
Okay.
It didn't fall within 2032, so I didn't include it in the
Go
conversation.
back up to the top.
Yeah, sure. One second.
Taller.
Trying.
Step ladder.
So, you can go to 31 and keep scrolling to scroll past. This is basically all the debt that you see now, 26 to 31, their capital plan. And then if you keep going out, this is what they wanted, a
Yeah,
visual.
you can see it starting to fall off
But-
right there. See it?
but
Yep.
Again, this is all speculation after a certain point, so, but it's there. So you can start to see the years, like he said, you know, 36, where you see,
Yeah.
you know, but I also think what's very interesting is that the heaviest years are now, right? And so we're gonna get a break a bit, and so, you know, there's some room coming up, but it's in a few years out, so it's there.
Yeah, that is interesting, that in fact, people start being worried about 4 or 5 years from now, 3, 4, 5, when.
The worst of it is now.
Right now, yeah.
Aaron, one very minor. It
Yeah.
has nothing to do with the numbers, but we're trying to align on consistency of sewer phasing.
Yeah.
Not by using Roman numerals anymore.
Will do.
Arabic.
Love it.
1, 2,
Will do.
3. It's just, they're all over the place. Just stick with non-Roman numeral numbering. Thank you.
Will do.
Just- It's the little things, Lynn.
Okay.
Awesome work, you guys. We
Yeah,
can.
thank you very much.
Yeah,
That's-
it really, really is.
Can I just ask one question?
Please.
I
Oh,
just- and-
you mean leave it up?
Yeah.
Sorry, one second.
Just so for my understanding, where, like, we talked about Elders Park today, and we talked about that debt. Where is that?
That's CPC debt, so it's
Right.
not, doesn't fall within this, so.
I thought you had.
It's
on-
revenue, it's revenue bonds, so it's paid internally, won't hit the taxpayer, but I think it's in here, actually.
Just
One
got-
sec-
It is
Yeah, one
in
second,
there.
one second.
I was
Yeah,
looking
but it doesn't impact, it's not a taxpayer impact, so one second. Sorry.
Basically,
Caught me.
water and CPC are,
No, but you have housing, if you go back to that big sheet to the top left.
Yep, one second, pull it to the,
says
You can CPA right there to the
CPA,
left, yeah.
open space, housing, recreation, I'm just seeing recreation's nothing. I guess it hasn't been issued yet, but. we did
Yeah.
We did authorize the 3, now it's gonna be 2, this is at town meeting. Where would that be included? Is it down lower?
in short-term debt, it would likely fall as a revenue bond in, let's see, it is, one second.
Because we passed
Got-
it at town meeting, so I'm just trying to.
it'll be your revenue anticipation.
Right, it'll be a ban for a few years.
Yeah.
These are anticipated too, or are they
Is it
not? Is it
there
just
and-
what's issued?
Peaches. Recreation historic. I'll have to get back with you on just
Okay, okay, no
specifically, so,
worries, no
right,
worries.
but, yeah,
No worries. Yeah, and
it would fall under the CPA. And obviously it doesn't, it's not it's not an impact to taxpayers since it's paid through a revenue bond
Yeah,
with
yeah,
the
yeah,
CPC
yeah.
revenues.
I think that,
Maybe.
yeah, but that would still, right?
well, they're,
Yeah.
remember,
me see if I
they're
can find it.
combined.
Oops.
The-
You have the
If you
housing.
download the data from the DLS website, all the CPC stuff is combined. So it would have to be broken out manually.
have the broken up.
You have it broken out on this sheet.
Yeah, we have to do it manually.
Okay.
All right.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
All right. So one last one that we have I think it was only a question, right? Mark was on what's now numbered 34, the Special Purpose Stabilization Fund for Affordable Housing. Was
Yeah, you had sent me a question from
Andrea, right.
Andrea. I did talk to Elizabeth today. It's really a question for council as to what, because the statute doesn't, it just says for affordable housing. It doesn't say what the definition of that is, so, there's varying, our affordable housing trusts, it's up to 120%, so there's,
200.
oh,
Except
Elizabeth.
for CPC. But it's two, we voted it to increase it to 200.
Right, so that was Andrea's question is, with the language in this, is it limited to the Affordable Housing Trust? Can it be broadened to, above,
Excuse me?
the 200, above the 120, or could it be as high as 250%?
Elizabeth is also on this call,
Yeah.
online.
Right.
But the answer is, we don't have an answer.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. All right, but we have already
Elizabeth,
voted. Oh, hello, Elizabeth. Looks like you're coming off mute.
Hi, good evening.
Evening, welcome.
Welcome. Sorry I can't be there in person. My daughter had a violin recital, so I am en route from that. But thank you for your understanding.
Totally good, but you saw Andrea's question on the new stabilization fund for housing and infrastructure?
I did, and I think Mark's comments reflect my at least initial analysis on it. The statute does say affordable housing, and there are other places in the statutes that address local taxation that define that, consistent with our trust at 120%.
Okay.
And again, I think the question should be fully vetted by council, but I do think at least under any statutory scheme, there are clear definitions between affordable and attainable. So my initial thought is that would be a stretch to be able to classify those funds for attainable housing. But again, something that should be looked into more closely. I don't think there's anything that says necessarily that those funds have to go to the Affordable Housing Trust, just that they are used for the purposes of affordable housing, hence the stabilization fund that's under discussion.
Okay. Thanks, sounds great. Well, we've got you. Anything else, communication-wise? Warrant, we have pretty much finished review, and I think,
You have the year-round housing trust, which,
I think, Elizabeth, you had indicated sometime through the course of today, you really didn't feel that it had been fully vetted. So are you suggesting that that come off and be considered at a future meeting?
Unfortunately, I do think that's my recommendation at this point. I think we knew originally that there were some inconsistencies between the statutory language for affordable housing trusts and that for year-round housing trusts. Chairman Galligan, I know you sat on that committee and you identified a couple of those as legislative priorities, particularly the 30B exemption and the taxation exemption. I think my hope was that given that our current affordable housing trust, has different pots of funding and we follow different rules for those, that we might be able to do the same thing and sort of roll in the affordable housing, the year-round housing trust powers and authorities. But based on the opinion we've got from council, it doesn't look like that's the case. So, I think hopefully we might see some legislative action on those inconsistencies. And if not, I think we really need to think through the full steps that we might take to establish the year-round housing trust as a separate board, the funding and the program oversight, et cetera.
Right.
So I don't think there's any hurry to do this. I don't think I've seen another seasonal community do it, but for Provincetown, which did theirs with special legislation. So if there's no objection, I do think I would recommend at this point we wait until the fall or when the issue is fully vetted across the region.
It's
and other
fine,
seasonal
because the funding source that we would use to start it up is in the fall when we have free cash, so they can be done at the same time.
Perfect. Yeah, and again, to that point, I mean, funds aren't even available to apply, and no harm to anything that's in pipeline at this point.
No. I think those are all projects under the trust are fully vetted and proceeding.
All right, Elizabeth, you've once again helped us reduce the town meeting by even another article. Meth, it'll be a short meeting. All right, anything else for Elizabeth? Well, we've got her. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you all. Have a good evening.
All right, you too. So, again, folks, there'll be a little renumbering, Mark. But I think we're going to be down to a total of 35 articles,
Yes.
not counting closing. All right, folks, I think we've gone through the final votes on the warrant article recommendations. Again, Elaine, Nick, anything you need from us tomorrow, we're happy to be there to help you get to the finish line and off to print after Friday, right, Mark? So,
Yes, we
All
are
right.
ahead of schedule, by the way. Which is,
scary thought. Michael, go ahead.
I would suggest for the FinCom that if we can get
I'm
the
sending it.
Dated.
sheet updated before the meeting for everybody, would be a huge help.
It's always updated as I go. So
Exactly.
And then I did talk with the chair of CPC. I know sometimes we've gone down to who presents the article, whether it's CPC or us. I just wanted, the chair is open to whatever we decide. So I think we need to, 'cause I know it's gotten to the floor sometimes where we've been, are you guys doing it, or are we doing it?
We did
Well,
talk
the same thing
about,
would apply to the comprehensive plan.
well, I'm looking at.
Exactly, so-
Molly, didn't we talk about a warrant walkthrough? That'll be a good time to have staff say who's backing us up on the articles, who's going to read the motion, so
I think we're doing it on
15th?
15th, yeah.
We're doing it on the 15th.
Yeah.
So we're going to do a walkthrough, since the thing will be,
Perfect. But it already printed, but we don't put in there who's presenting.
No, none of that's, and this, I think it's important to note that the article planner is really for the select board and for staff.
Yeah.
Right.
And FinCom obviously can utilize it. It isn't built for public facing. So, when there's information that might not be clear, it's not meant for the public necessarily. It's obviously a public document, but
happy to share, but it'd be more useful if we gave her a little bit more.
And the
All
other
right.
thing I would add, if I could.
Please.
Could we make sure the land acknowledgement is in the warrant booklet? We voted that as our policy. I know we read it, and it's been read last time, but we didn't have it in the booklet, under the
Where?
attestations or wherever.
you just want it like in the,
Right at the beginning, where the moderator has to read what are they called, assertions and
Attestation.
Yeah.
attestation, sorry, thank you.
yeah, that's not in the book, so we'd have to just add a
Mm-hmm.
section.
Okay. So moving on to 12, vote debt exclusion questions. So I think we have a teed-up motion for the annual ballot. That election is on May 19th, a week following the annual town meeting. Would someone like to move the debt exclusion questions that we have to put on the ballot?
Mr. Chair, I would move to place debt exclusion questions on the May 19th, 2026 annual election ballot as presented in the Select Board packet.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions on those debt exclusion questions? All good? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 400. Believe it or not, we are at final review and vote to approve the FY '27 town budget. Kim, any last changes?
No, I'm just glad it wasn't me. It's nice to have a year off.
Well,
I know it won't always be that way, but it was great
Darren's.
to have Darren and Mark
smiling.
take the lead, and Cedric. I mean,
If
honestly.
there's any problems with it, it's always the town manager's budget. Just to let you
That's
know.
what the charter says.
And I would be happy to stand in front to take it. Totally
The only thing
fine.
I'd say before we vote, again, this was a much improved process, and we can always learn. So again, Darren, anything you could see, that we could do a little bit better, tee them up sooner than later, so we don't get to crunch time again. As I think you've got a board that is willing to tee things up in November. Can we talk about this in December? We all want to help. Seriously, we really want it to go smoothly, so.
Very helpful.
All right, so maybe a vote to,
Mr. Chair, I would move to approve the FY '27 town budget.
Second.
any further discussion? And again, at the FinCom meeting, there was some question made by one member about we're not following our policy, which we set at the outset on positions, not hiring. And I would just come back, and I'll say it if it's appropriate. I'm looking at the chair of the Finance Committee. We did stick to our policy. However, we knew there was a petition article, and we knew there was also a inspection requirement of rental properties. The rental property position is funded. We have no concern about that. The petition article, we get it. We were ready to fund it in February. We saw the urgency, and actually some changes recently have occurred that make perfect sense. But that still is an override. It will totally be up to the voters to approve that additional expenditure on taxes. So again, I would have pushed back as I watched your meeting to say, I think we followed our policy as best we could, but we also are human beings with emotions and sensitivities to the need of the town. So, call me out if I violated it, but I'll stand behind what we did. Thank you. All right, so Select Board Liaison updates. We kind of skipped them last meeting because we were running so late. So I'm looking at Michael. He's got about 45 pages of liaison. So, Michael, go ahead. Look at Molly's. I'm exaggerating.
Let's see. Molly, what's the matter?
What's the matter?
And what's the problem now?
It's not the number 45.
Yeah, no, I don't have quite 45. I think most of them were covered. Let's see, there's the marine and freshwater, a lot of talking about the articles we've placed and recommended the articles. After a lot of conversation there was a conversation about food composting. They're probably going to get in touch with Amanda. They definitely want to build more awareness out there about it and supporting it. They were very excited about it.
Who's going to get in touch with Amanda?
They
Who's they?
committee.
So the committee should make a request through the town manager to access their staff. Just we're gonna keep repeating this so that it sticks, right?
Oh, you should repeat it at the chair's meetings, because the chair was there, and they're the ones who are gonna reach out, and I believe they understand how to reach out to town staff, so.
All good.
Okay, and Kevin will remind it.
Perfect.
Chair's meeting.
That's excellent.
Another few weeks.
FinCom, I think you guys talked mostly about that already. CPC will meet this week. The Veterans Committee met. That was a great meeting. Things are moving along in the park. They discussed it's definitely been a challenge. They have a Korean and Vietnam War Memorial that has a combined, I think, about 123 names on it, and it doesn't specify which theater they were in. So they've got to go back, and they've painstakingly reviewed and public information and trying to first divide the names, because there will be now two different monuments, a Korean monument, Korea and a Vietnam, and trying to find out if you were an actual resident of Orleans the time you were at your service, which is definitely a challenge to go back through all these records, and they're missing, and this person doesn't have it, and this or that. So they're doing a really great job. They're working on those two monuments right now, and then they're planning for the Memorial Day.
Nice.
Okay, so that's coming along. So just a big call out, and I did say it when the Elders Park, but Brian Sosner, Katie Griffin, Martin Saisber, and Carol Sosner, I mean, they have raised a lot of money, And they did that, you know, on their own in a 501c3. They did it brick by brick. They did the benches. They're paying for these monuments. This will come out as probably the most cost-effective park project we've ever seen in this town. It's exciting that, you know, we talk a lot about the people who want to participate as citizens, and they've been able to tap into that with hundreds of thousands of dollars that are going to be contributed to this project. So, and great to, of course, the chair, Kevin Higgins, and the rest of the committee. The other thing I just wanted to mention, I don't know if you guys saw it, I was going to mention last time, Lexington, Mass. And gas-powered leaf blowers.
Not that.
Okay. Finally happened. They had started the process 4 or 5 years ago, and they did it incrementally, year by year, into different things. And the ban went into effect this spring. You know, they did commercial and residential and et cetera, et cetera. Now you're allowed to use leaf blowers and you're allowed to use electric power. So they gave the town 4 to 5 years to be able to get this, but they have to start it at some time. I think we can all sit back this summer, and as we're sitting on our properties, we can listen and see if it's something I would love to tackle as a town and lay it out for 3 or 4 years. I can't imagine in 4 or 5 years any of a landscaping company won't be using electric, but they may. I just see the way the construction industry went, using power tools and going to electric versus cord. I can't imagine it's not going to be the same for landscape. So just wanted to bring it out there. It was pretty historic that they actually got it completed, and we'll see this summer the pushback if they have any. And that's it. Thank you.
Mev?
Nothing for me.
Okay, Mark?
You know, I think, you know, obviously, we went through all the school budgets last week, that meeting, Shellfish or Waterways, Rock Harbor is at a point where the new pole has been put in place, the old pole has been removed. Verizon needs to do some underground conduit work to get everything hooked up again. And I think we're at a point where the contractor needs to be done by May 1st, or else there'll be penalties. And I think, you know, that should be, they should be done by May 1st. It's very close. The bulkhead at Goose Hummock is essentially complete as well.
Looks great.
So that's done. Some discussion that went on about the potential of micro dredging at Wawa, for the access for so many of our commercial grant holders out in Pleasant Bay, as well as recreational boating. It's really seriously shoaled up over there, and we had a citizen volunteer whose name would be familiar to everybody, I think on the outer Cape, Ted Keon, who ran the Chatham program for a couple of decades, that is so, was so enmeshed in the dredging projects in Chatham with the county and the feds. And so he's lending some expertise to Orleans now in this, you know, as I said, the micro dredging potential for that. Board of Health, I think the letters for Phase 2 hookups are going out this week.
Yep.
People will have a year from the date of the receipt of that letter to get hooked up to the sewer system in Phase 2. I think everybody in Phase 1, I think they were down to, they had two
left.
that were like
Almost there.
in the plans, you know, getting the plans done or whatever, so we had 99.999% done with Phase 1. Planning Board, we got the comprehensive plan update from the Planning Board a couple of weeks ago. So there's nothing new from them right now. That's where we are.
Is So just a couple from me. One is kind of pinging off of the letters that went out on Phase 2 sewer connections, wastewater management, got that update as well. We're advancing, assuming town meeting votes to advance the implementation of the Mill Pond short-term measures. And I will circulate this to you. I should have done it. But Mike Gigi put together a very simple bi-phase graph that shows the amount of nitrogen removal versus the target. And it shows, I'm looking at Lynn, by Phase 4, we'll have achieved about 50% reduction townwide. So the others will be more nibbles as we go, but pretty impressive in terms of accomplishment with
62
just.
is the goal, right?
It is, but it's an adaptive plan, so we may be making some other changes based upon good progress, really good progress. The other thing, to Mark, your point about the micro dredging, I went to the Chatham, it was for Pleasant Bay Alliance update on the marsh project work that they're doing. Actually, some spoils from dredge could be very beneficial for healthy marsh systems. So even, just layering,
Yeah,
it's all related.
I think and I didn't get a chance to go to the meeting. I'm not sure if I think I mentioned once before that there was an invasion of a crab species that we're seeing in Maine and the North Shore. And that one of the, and the crabs feed on the root systems of the marsh grass, which destroy the marsh grass and then destroys the marsh.
On the bay side.
Yep.
They have not been found yet, correct, Nick? On Pleasant Bay,
So.
knock on wood.
One of the things that was beneficial in eradicating, or helping to eradicate that program was the broadcast.
Exactly. Yep.
Dredging, like where you could broadcast the spoils
Smother them.
over the marsh and
Smother.
smother the crabs.
Exactly.
So that's,
Symbiotic.
yeah, they were looking at that as a solution in several places. So again, if we do get into a situation where we might need to be doing that, it could be something that the state would be more amenable to because it
Right.
solves two problems at once.
And not to deliberate, but as, Nick, I think you attended that as well. The state is providing grant funds for this. And I think with the governor's environmental bond bill, there should be more. So, all right. Future agenda items, one just for the board. In addition to the planner, I know Molly's got it. We're going to send around a email to find a good date for just a workshop to get the policies done. Right, Molly?
Yeah, we did, on planner, so April 29th, you don't have a regular meeting scheduled, but we put it on 3 to 5, if everyone can do that.
So,
I'll send out an email,
Yeah,
and if you
great.
can't, just let me know, and then another one on May 6th, 3 to 5.
okay, if necessary.
Hammer 'em out.
Yeah, we just want to get these done before turnover to a new chair and vice chair. So, and then you can work on committee charges, which is next in queue. So any other future agenda items, Mark?
Not so much, I just want to mention that we had an Orleans Citizens Forum last week on economic development. And Amanda was there as a presenter with Paul Nizwicki, who's past head of,
Chamber,
well, he's the head of the chamber now, Cape Cod Chamber, but
Commission.
was Cape Cod Commission. And Cam Hadfield from Bolly Neck Inn were the three presenters. And in essence, it was about the potential for economic development in Orleans and how we can continue to improve the outlook for the town. One of the things that came up were several of the people that were there spoke to what they felt was really a sea change in terms of support from Town Hall, from the manager's office and the staff that have been hired, and the things that have happened through, having Amanda, having Elizabeth Jenkins, Kim and Mark, just the support from the select board. So there's a recognition that things, are going in a much more positive direction, and it's appreciated. There are still some glitches, still things that need to be dealt with and worked on, but I think it's, the feeling is that there's a true partnership and that we're making progress, and it's a positive note, I think.
Someone said to me many years ago, you can never thank people enough. Thank you, guys. Yeah. Any other future agenda items? All right. Last item says adjourn.
So
Mr.
moved.
Chair, I would move that we adjourn at
All right.
7:13.
All in favor? Aye. We're adjourned.